thank you for being here. I have to say, I'm a bit jealous of you. You are handsome. You have a great office. You have a great mic, great video. You have a great voice. You have everything, man. What's up with
Bastian,
that?
you have all those same things as well. Like I'm looking at you, I'm looking at that beard, man. Honestly, I bought a derma roller so that I could like puncture holes in my face, and I'm using all these oils and stuff to try and grow a beard. I wish I could look like you, man. So I think you should give yourself some more credit. But thank you for the compliment.
Yeah, and in your previous office, and I hope you're gonna go back to your previous office soon, but you had all those guitars on the wall and stuff, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, we're gonna have to shuffle things when we get home. I think my old office is gonna be my wife's office now because I had to go and rent space. And then we've decided my kids are into music as well. We're gonna make a music room in my wife's old office in the house, and that's where all the guitars will be hung up and everything. We're gonna have our piano in there, keyboard, some guitars, some amps, and so me and the kids will just hang out in there going forward. So yeah, I'm excited to get back home so we can live in there again and enjoy the space, but still have to wait a little bit longer.
Okay, cool. For anyone who doesn't know you, can you give us a bit of background? I want to go through your journey because the last few years have been amazing. It's like a
Yeah,
Netflix show. But can you explain again who you are and yeah, also why Asana? What's your relationship with Asana, and
sure.
when did it actually start?
Sure. So, yeah, my name is Marquis. I am a business process consultant. Sometimes I call myself a systems architect. And I help teams to improve their workflows so that they can work better. I do that by helping them document their standard operating procedures, optimize their processes, and where possible, introduce software automation to again make work easier and really align their teams. And so Asana is one of the platforms that we work with to help do that. It's actually our main partner that we work with. And Bastian, you know this. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right, by the way. I've been practicing. Um,
Yeah, we talked about this because you
we did.
either pronounce it the French way or the American way. I guess
Right.
it's fine. Do you actually know what your name means in French?
It means something along the lines of like royalty or no.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a
Yeah.
noble. Yeah.
Right.
And actually, when you pull up your name in Google, you end up with this.
Come
That's
on.
basically you, like
That's
Marquis.
cool. Looks nothing like me, but that's cool. Good to know. I've never actually Googled an image of myself before. Um, so anyways, Asana is one of the platforms. Been Asana partners since 2020 officially. I don't know if you want me to go back prior to that and start my journey, but again, that's one of the tools that we use, and it's the one that we've decided to hitch our wagon to because we use it every day and implement it every day, and I love it.
And why Asana? Why did you choose Asana? When was the encounter?
Yeah, good question. So years ago, before I was even running my own marketing agency, I worked for a digital marketing agency as a marketing manager, and there were no systems there at all. I was trying to implement systems, and I was going through various tools and demoing them, trying to get people in the office to, adapt one of these tools into our workflow. And so I looked at Trello. I looked at Teamwork. I looked at various other tools that I can't even remember the names of now. They're probably not even around. And Asana was one of them. And Asana seemed to be the one that was the most user friendly. It had the most flexibility. Like, for example, Trello, you could only have a board view, whereas Asana, you could have a list or a board, or I think you could have a calendar back then. I can't even remember now, but it was the most flexible, right? Like we could adapt different views depending on who's looking at it. It seemed to be centered around like collaboration. So, like, there was ownership of a task. You can create subtasks. You can have all your comments in there. So we didn't have to bring in another tool like Slack, which at the time for the agency was a heavy lift to ask them to like communicate in Slack versus sending internal emails. So ultimately, I made the decision to implement Asana there, and I had heard great things about it as well. Amy Porterfield is someone that I used to listen to a lot on her podcast, and she'd always talk about Asana. And so it was just kind of one of those things where I said, "Hey, let's look further into this." So that would have been 2016, 2017, but I'd used it before that for my like personal life, just like to-dos and task lists. So probably introduced to the tool in, 2012, 2013, but didn't start using it for work until much later.
And if you look at the other tools like Monday and ClickUp, do you think if you chose one of them over Asana, do you think your life would be widely different, or do you think it would still be a business consultant and just selling a different tool?
It's a good question. That is a good question. I think one of the things that actually steered me towards Asana over, say, ClickUp, for example.
Because you had the choice back then. When I had the choice 10 years ago, it was Zoho or Asana.
Yeah,
If I remember correctly, I couldn't even
yeah,
choose Monday. I think it did not exist. And
yeah.
I often wonder, would my life be very different if I chose Monday? Would I be a Monday consultant? I don't know.
I think so. Yeah, that's a really good thing to consider. And I mean, you bring up Zoho, like I'd forgotten about that platform. Yeah, like I used that one too, and it was terrible, right? So to compare that to Asana, the decision was easy, but I think what really steered me in this direction was Monday wasn't super popular back when I was looking to implement something. ClickUp was making some waves, but Gray McKenzie from ZenPilot, they've centered their entire agency around ClickUp. And so I told Gray this years later, but I had secret shopped him, like just to understand like how he ran his consultancy and how he did his offerings. And so I was like, man, Gray's already doing such great things with ZenPilot in the ClickUp space. If I go that direction, I'm going to get eaten alive. So I said, there's no one really doing this in Asana right now. Let me see what I can do. So yeah, I think my life would have been very different. I don't want to think about what it would look like right now. It's hard to do that, but yeah, definitely I would have taken a different path. I don't know where I'd be right now though, so I'm gonna have to take that one away.
And what about, do you think you could go and work for a company that doesn't have any work management solution, like go back to emails and Excel?
Absolutely not. No, that would be my worst. I think my first order of business would be to try and implement some of those solutions. And if
Yeah.
it was just me using them to track my own work, I think people would start to see how I was working and I could possibly try and sell them on it. But to go back to strictly email and spreadsheets, um, no, I don't think I could ever do that. I was always trying to think of another way, which is why even at this marketing agency, we were using email, we were using spreadsheets. We'd get into our weekly meetings, and every week it would be the same thing. We would all sit there with our paper and our pencil and write out our notes, and there'd be all these action items we'd have to complete before the next meeting. And everyone would leave the meeting and forget about them. And we'd come back next week and be like, how are we doing? What's the status update? What's going on with this client? And everyone's like, oh yeah, I forgot to do that, or I forgot to follow up with that person. And we'd forget everything we committed to in that weekly meeting. And so that sounds like a nightmare. I don't think I could ever do that. One, I don't think I could ever work for somebody else ever again.
Yeah, it's
And
a
two,
different question though. Yeah.
yeah, it's a different question. And two, no, I don't think I could work for an organization that didn't have a work management tool. That would be my first order of business, is to set one up.
Because it's actually an intuition I have. When you look at job posting today, I don't think job postings have the tech stack people use, the company tech stack. But I
Sure.
have a feeling that people that use for Asana, for example, might want to go and work for a company that uses using Asana and nothing else.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is something we might be shifting towards, where
Mm,
people go to companies because of the tools they use,
yeah.
because that's a guarantee that the work is being done and is efficient and productive. Do you think that's accurate? Do you think that's going to shift towards this situation?
I had never thought about it, but yeah, I think that it is an accurate, statement. If I was interviewing today, I think that would be one of the questions I would ask. Like, what do your systems look like? What is the day to day? How do you manage work? How do you assign priority? How do you, measure progress and success? How will I be evaluated? Those would be some of the questions I would ask. And if they said, oh, well, we don't have any, or we're working to implement some of those things, that's a different conversation. But I think, yeah, for a candidate to come into a company that has streamlined systems. It's like an investor too, right? Like they want to invest in companies that have systems, that have SOPs. If a candidate is coming in and knows that they have their stuff together, there's some order to the way that things go, they know that their time there is going to be more enjoyable. They know that they're not going to be stressed, wondering where things are and how to do things. And so if you're a candidate and you're in the job market, or you're working for a company that doesn't, value process improvement or clarity in their work, then I would be asking for those things. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And I don't think that info is actually posted online. So yeah, maybe the market is going to shift towards this.
Yeah. I don't see it.
Uh,
Are you guys posting that kind of stuff at I Do?
we usually don't post when we look for someone. We usually just react to opportunities and people we cross path with. But we would definitely, I think, post the tool we're using.
Got it. Yeah, that would definitely be a question I would ask you if we ever decided to join forces.
So when you join my team, you can be sure that we use Asana, so it's going to be easy for you.
Are you talking to me or the person listening right now?
I'm talking to you. So as a consultant, aren't you surprised how companies have been able to operate for years without a tool? Sometimes it's amazing how far people went with just Excel and email. And I do have an anecdote about this. The other day, so we offer support to clients, right? We literally offer office hours, and clients usually do not take advantage of this. They don't come.
No.
The other day, my partner finally was able to talk to a client. The client was saying, I don't need help, I'm fine. Asana's working perfectly, no problem. They had like 1 hour workshop together. At the end of the 1 hour workshop, the client replaced something that took 6 hours in Excel with something that took 5 minutes in Asana.
Yeah.
And so I'm always amazed at how people do not realize the time they waste. So it's a good thing for us because there's a massive opportunity to tap into to help those people, but they also don't realize they need help. They don't know what they don't know. Do you find this to be true as well in the work you do?
I do. And I'm often left wondering, how do you do your work? And I will say, obviously it works, right? Obviously people just figure it out and they work. Is it the most efficient, effective way to work? We know that it's not. But it works to a certain extent. And so I was on a call yesterday, a training call, and people showed up. It was actually office hours as well. And one of the people said that I trained in the past, said, I love Asana, I loved your trainings, but we just don't have the time to move things over. We're still operating in Slack and email and spreadsheets. And I said, oh, well, you're using spreadsheets. Have you looked at the CSV importer yet? And they're like, yeah, we know it's there, but it's still, we just don't have the time. And I'm like, well, do you want to look at it right now? And they didn't want to pull it up on their screen, but I said, the next time that you have like 5 minutes, right? It could be a Friday afternoon, things are slow. I encourage you, go and download the CSV, exactly as it is, import it into Asana and just see what it looks like. Because even just doing that, it would help you to understand how your workflow could improve. And then as you get deeper into understanding usage around custom fields and formulas, if there's a use case for that, right? I think they kind of just have to like practice it and see it before they take it on. But yes, to answer your earlier question, I don't know how people do it. I hear it all the time. Oh yeah, well, we have this spreadsheet and I do it this way, but my colleague does it this way. And then this person does it that way, but my boss expects it this way. And I think, how does your team get anything done? But again, somehow it works. It boggles my mind.
But it also relates to something else we've heard. One day someone told us, if I become more productive, then my boss is going to give me just more stuff to do. So I don't really want to become better because I'm just going to have more things to do. That's crazy, right?
I don't know how to answer that question.
Yeah, I know.
I don't. In a way, I mean, it's true. I mean, I know I'm not that kind of leader, right? Like, I don't want to just pile things on to people just to keep them busy, but yeah, that's what companies are all aiming for. And here's like where I have, a problem with it is companies are aiming for productivity and efficiency so that what? They can increase their margins, and make more profit, make more money, right? Obviously that's needed. You're a business owner, I'm a business owner. I want those things as well. But you also want people on your team that are happy and, enjoy coming to work and don't have the stress or the issue of not knowing where or how the work is happening. You don't want them coming in and feeling like I'm just checking boxes all day. You want them to feel like, they're a part of something bigger. So for me as a leader, like that's more important, or just as important, I should say, as making a profit. And so I don't know if I told you this, but like we're going through a bit of a rebrand right
Yeah.
now where like I'm going from what was Ditto, to what was Marquee Murray, to now to the new brand. And our mission is really turning into one where we're helping teams eliminate workplace burnout by empowering them to optimize the way that they work so that companies, yes, can make a profit and make money, become more efficient, but also so that people can reduce their level of stress and anxiety and what that leads to in the mental health space. So, yeah, again, it's a hard question to answer, but I think, a lot of leaders look at it from the wrong perspective. They think just pile more on, but they're not thinking about the real person sitting in the seat and how that style of leadership or working is really affecting their teams.
One day, a client came to me. The CEO told me I need a tool like Asana to spy on people because I don't know what they're doing all day, and I
Oh
want to
man.
be able to check on them.
I
I
hope you
think he
told them,
ended up,
sorry, we
yeah,
can't help you do that.
yeah. I
Go find
explained
somebody
it.
else.
It wasn't the philosophy that Asana was built with.
Yeah,
Um, Can you tell me about your journey? As I said, it's like a Netflix show. You got your
sure.
company, you got acquired, you left.
Yeah,
You don't have to give us all the details, obviously, but I'd like um,
sure.
to learn from you. What lessons have you learned from this? What pitfalls should I avoid? What
Yeah.
if you were to do it all over again? Would you do anything differently? All of that.
How much time do we have, Bastian? Um, where do you want to start? From Ditto onward?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So Ditto 2020 spun that up and grew consistently over the next 2 years. And we've been in talks with, this third party
Yep.
because we're in the same space, we're familiar, and we've been talking about just similarities in our business, similarities in the space and what just day to day looked like. And Ditto had gone to a spot where we had a certain amount of full-time people, a certain amount of, part-time contractors, but it was in a really good spot. I was feeling good about it. I was removing myself more and more from the day to day. I had a leadership team and some ops people that were taking on some of the responsibilities that I had previously. So there was growth there. Um, I'll say this now so I don't forget, but I think one of the big like pitfalls of Ditto was that it grew too quickly. And we grew sideways, right? We took on more headcounts, but didn't scale effectively. Processes and systems were airtight. We prioritized that. Everyone knew what they were doing. We delivered really well, but it was hard to manage the people and all the different changing priorities. And so that was one of the learnings that I took out of that experience. But all that to say, came to a point where I was having conversations with this third party, and I went to them and I said, "Hey, um, I'm looking for a mastermind. I'm looking for a group of people that can help me to understand what my next steps are in the business. I've gotten to a certain place. I want to take it to the next level now. Can you introduce me to anyone?" And they said, "Hey, I have this event happening in Mexico. You should come and check it out. There's going to be so and so there, and these types of people." And it ended up being 35 some odd entrepreneurs, various backgrounds and tenures. And so I said, "Sounds great." So I went to Mexico with again the intention of understanding what steps I needed to take it to the next level. Um, Ended up leaving that week with a verbal offer to acquire Ditto, right? One that I wasn't surprised by, because there had been, kind of like conversations about what it could look like to partner, but nothing like this, and especially to happen so quickly. So over the next, let's call it 8 weeks, where it was back and forth, there were negotiations, there was paperwork, there was due diligence. I was connecting with people on my side to understand, kind of the path that should take here, and it was moving really quickly. And actually, when I came back, my initial response was, no, I'm not ready. It's too early. Like, I built something here. I've learned so much from this experience in Mexico. I'm not ready to do anything yet. So I said no. And they came back with an offer that was even better than the original one. And ultimately, after lots of talking and just really sitting with it, like, I talked to my wife, I talked to my kids, I talked to my parents, they were all involved in that decision. And this was the best thing for our family. This was the
So
best thing for us to
what was
continue.
going to be the impact on your life? Were you going to be more hands-on and go back to doing consulting, or were you going to have more people under you and do more management? What was the
Yeah.
change?
Ultimately, I was going to have less people under me. I was going to be managing the delivery team. So I was moving into this VP of operations role, which is overseeing the delivery team. So less
So
people
no more
underneath.
sales, no more
No more
sales.
sales. No more sales. No more HR. No more, finances. Nothing like that. I was going to be sitting in the space where I was in charge of our internal systems and processes and managing the delivery to our clients. So that could be everything from training programs to our academy, to how we delivered services. And so it was a really sweet deal, right? Like, doing the work that I love to do without all the overhead or the stress or the concern. And so
You don't like the sales part of your job?
I didn't like it at the time, because the engine that I had created to bring in leads was working, right? So we get about 90% of our leads right now from YouTube. It was working, but a lot of them were not qualified leads. So I was spending a lot of my time, and it was draining me, speaking to unqualified leads. And so one of the things that I got out of the mastermind experience was bringing in like a BDR, someone that could, pre-screen these leads and then move them over to me. So if that had happened with Ditto, I think I would have enjoyed it a lot more. But I was just tired at that point. So kind of fast forwarding here, it was ultimately 3 months that I was with this company. So we transitioned some team members over, transitioned clients over, working on aligning and building the new team. And one thing led to another. And ultimately, it just came down to a difference in vision and direction. And I was coming from a CEO role, working under another CEO, and we just had different ideals of what the future of the company should look like. And so something that should have been longer term ended up being cut short. And I left at the beginning of March 2023, and was back in my office at home. It
By
was March
yourself? No
by
more
myself.
team, nobody working for you, with you.
No, no. There was
Back to
one
square one.
customer we had that was like ongoing for 2 years that we knew wouldn't have been included in the deal. So that was still happening in the background, but that project was winding down. So yeah, it was just me in my office, March 3rd, 2023. I'm like, what?
How did you feel? Because sometimes
Yeah.
I wonder what's that like to be Monday morning, you have the whiteboard one behind me, you have no job, you have your life
Yeah.
ahead of you.
Yeah.
What do you do?
I've got kids, I've got a mortgage, I've got all
Oh
those
yeah,
things.
also.
And right, like in the acquisition, like a lot of those things I didn't really have to think about. Like there was some space and some, um, kind of buffers created through the acquisition, which is really nice. But yeah, I'm sitting there and I'm like, what am I going to do? And I knew that I just needed to have a presence, right? Like Ditto was done, that was in the past. And I went on Squarespace, and that day I just spun up a new website. I called it markhumurray.com, and I started putting out my consulting services. And yeah, man, like thinking back to it, that was a scary time. Thinking back on it now, I feel like I did when I left my agency job to start my own marketing agency, right? In the moment, and even COVID, right? Like my marketing agency, it took a dip and I had the opportunity to pivot into Ditto. But in those three cases, I'm starting over fresh. I have nothing. And what's been really nice is I've been able to figure it out and like grow to the next stage. But if I think about it today, it makes me really sad actually,
Wow.
because I put a lot on the line, right? Like I have people that depend on me. So much could have gone wrong in March 2023. So much could have gone wrong. The job market was horrible. I actually considered just going and getting another job because I had seen what it was like to be an employee. Um, and I thought, let me just go get another job for now. There was so much riding on it. So it makes me sad because at any moment it could have failed. Like it could have not worked. And I would have been struggling trying to find a job. But I
But you
used my
had,
whiteboard.
yeah, you had your online presence, reputation, content. I'm guessing
Yeah,
you still had some leads coming in. So
I
it
still had
wasn't a
that.
complete blank slate. You could
That
always go back to consulting.
That's right. But like this, right? And maybe in Europe and Middle East, like you didn't experience this as much, but in North America, the Asana partner program like came to a screeching halt. They laid
Yeah.
off like I don't know what percentage, maybe 40% of the people, if I can recall the number correctly, but our partner managers were no longer available. They weren't feeding leads. For whatever reason, YouTube lead generation slowed to a halt. And this was at the time where the economy was kind of shaky. And so I was like, all right, yes, I still had YouTube. I still had my podcast. I still had all that IP, but it wasn't like it was before. And so I had to reestablish like my partner relationship with Asana. I had to start over. I had to like reapply. I had to submit new paperwork and new documents and make friendly with the new partner representatives. Um, I had to
And
figure out
what
new positioning on YouTube.
and what if at that moment somebody like Monday or ClickUp came, knock on the door, and said, "Here's a check, become a partner with us."
That would have been the time. That would have been the time where I would have considered maybe, yeah, doing something else because I think what I saw from that experience is I had put all my eggs in one basket, right? And like I'm still kind of in that position. We're entertaining other platforms now. Like we do HubSpot, always on HubSpot. We do PandaDoc, we do QBO, but I'm now looking at Airtable as another partner, right? For different use cases and for different customers. But I think that experience showed me that nothing is forever, nothing is certain, right? And so it's really opened me up to exploring other options. Asana will always be my number one. I love it. I breathe it, but
Can, can
it
you
would have been tough.
can you be really good at Airtable, Asana, and HubSpot, or are you just good at each one of them? Because we try to be really good at Asana, and it takes a long time. You have to keep up with the roadmap, with the content. You have to create content. If you
Yeah,
want to keep up, it's just a lot of work. Can you
yeah.
actually do that for several tools at the same time?
My short answer is no.
So you
I
become quite good at those, but not as good as you could be if you focus on one. Okay.
That's right. Because it's not just me, right? Like it's my team as well. Like how much time and how much money am I going to have to spend to train my team now on Airtable and become like proficient in it? Like I can take it on. We've got a couple people who know how to use it, but like we know Asana, could we train on Airtable today? No. And there are partner tracks that can help you get there, but like it would be a lift, right? And so that's something we're going to like seriously look at in probably Q2 of next year. But I will also say this because I always tell people it doesn't matter what tool you have. And I've done plenty of migrations from Monday, from Airtable, from Trello, right? Like if you really look at them, if you really look at the tools and how they work, they're all the same,
Oh yeah.
right? The UI looks different, right? How they present the information looks different, but they're all the same. And so if you took a couple hours and compared Airtable or Monday or ClickUp to Asana, you're going to start to see and draw the correlation between all the tools. And so, is it something we can learn and be effective in? Absolutely. But
But it
like,
only
when is the
works.
right time?
Yeah, it only works as long as you're willing to make a compromise,
That's
because
it.
the tool is not always going to work exactly the way you expect it to work.
Yeah,
So if you're willing to make those compromises, I'm pretty sure you can be widely successful using Monday or Airtable or ClickUp.
that's that's
You
right.
just have to focus on one.
That's right. Yeah, and it's one of my goals, like to be the number one Asana consultancy in North America, right? Like, why couldn't the new company, I'll just say the name Surface, be the number one Asana consultancy process improvement agency in North America, right? Not to compare ourselves with the great partners that Deloitte and Slalom and Accenture are, but if like I want my name to be aligned with Asana that when people think of the tool, they think, oh, you got to get Surface, oh, you got to get that team over there to do it. So I think there's something to that too. And then in that regard, like, why spread myself thin, why entertain another tool? So again, something we're still considering, but definitely more open to it now based on my previous experience.
When we talked, I think maybe 2 years ago, I needed to make some hiring decisions, like freelancers versus employees. And I think at the time
Yeah,
you told me it's amazing. I have a team of about, I don't know, 25 people. I have
yeah,
24 freelancers, one employee. It's the way to go. It's perfect. And I feel like you going backwards now. And I think we talked about this recently, and you were going towards the employee road a bit more.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to touch on this.
What do you want to know? Like where I'm at now and what my thoughts are on
Yeah,
the
what
employee-employer
what
relationship?
changed? What changed? And you were so convinced at the time, and you changed. So yeah, what
Yeah.
changed?
Yeah, I think I was challenged with this last week as well. I told you I'm onboarding an integrator. And
Yeah,
so I was challenged with this because I was trying to bring them up to speed and we're looking at the accountability chart and they said, "Oh, it seems like you're trying to build like an outsourced model." Like, no, no, no. Like, what gave you that impression? And she says, "Well, you've got this person in this space doing that and they've got their agency, you've got that person in that space doing their agency." And I'm like, well, yes, if you look at it from that perspective, we've got someone who takes care of all of our technology and API work and custom work, and they've got a team of devs, and we've got an agency that provides more security related and privacy related stuff here, helps us stay compliant. Yes, they have their own company, but our core team, the ones that are delivering the main service, like, they are employees, like they are dedicated to this. And the reason why that's so important to me now is because I've experienced like selling already. I've experienced the acquisition of a previous company, right? I don't want to be the person that keeps everything running, right? Like on our new website, surface.com, whenever it's available, I don't want my face to be the one that people see when they land there. Um, I want I want it to be known that this is an agency. There is a CEO, but it's also not my goal to be CEO forever, right? I need to build something that can outlast me. And if I have a bunch of contractors running around, I'm constantly just managing those relationships. Whereas I'm looking to build an organization that can stand on its own, that has structure, where there are people who have ownership and pride over the work they do, and are aligned with the mission as well, right? And I don't think you get that same understanding and that same respect for the mission working with contractors who have many other clients they need to service versus having a dedicated team. So I think that's what's changed for me, is I'm so passionate now about the mission that I need dedicated people who understand their role, understand how their work and their functions ladder up to the goals and the mission. Like, if I don't have that, and if they don't understand that, and if they're not equally as passionate about it, but if they can at least at minimum respect it and dedicate time and focus to it, you can't be on my team. So I think that's the biggest change for me.
and I think the third party we mentioned earlier, they relied heavily on contractors, right?
Yes,
But, yeah.
that's
Yeah,
right.
I think it might be a bit harder to have a dedicated contractor because you have this freedom of leaving at any time.
Mhm.
That makes the relationship a bit weirder, I
Right.
guess.
Yeah. And then there's also like from the just the business management perspective, being able to manage the finances and um, go from like variable cogs to more consistent, right? Monthly expenses and salary, like creating that stability, I think is important to growth as well. So yeah, there's so many things to consider in like when you're making those decisions of who to hire and what type of person to hire. But for me, like my vision and my mission is clearer than it's ever been. And I know where I'm going and I know how I'm gonna get there this time. So I'm just gonna stay focused on that.
I do have one last question. What's your favorite productivity trick? If you had to teach one, what's your favorite trick?
That's great. Probably 80% of the emails that I send are snippets. I use a tool called Text Expander and I just paste in like a short code, like it's usually like period and whatever the word is. And it just expands this large email and I can just fill in variables. So that saves me tons of time when I'm writing emails or communicating with my team, anything like that. Loom, if I can share another one, would be another one. We don't need meetings. We don't need as many meetings as you think we need. So just send me a Loom. I'd rather just communicate that way. But yeah, I think those are my two productivity tips to just like save time, streamline your work, and create more consistency.
I think the last one is one that's really hard for most people because most people they just want to have meetings and
Yeah.
they would always argue that a good decision always needs a meeting to discuss and come up with something. And if you try to work asynchronously with them, they just end up feeling like the ball is not moving forward and they
Yeah.
get frustrated. And
Yeah.
I'm an async guy and I work with sync people and sometimes it's hard.
Right. Um, I totally get that. There are definitely people of that mindset. And something that I often say when I do my talks is just because it's the way you've always done it, it doesn't mean it's the right way. Right. Like there's a new way of thinking. Like I would encourage you to think differently. Like try it out. Like what could you do if you sent a Loom video that took you 2 minutes instead of taking up 30 to 60 minutes of your time? How could you spend the rest of that hour? Right. So I always encourage people just try it. Right. You might like it.
What about having assistants? That would be my number one trick. Having an assistant you can delegate things to and stop doing admin work or repetitive work. Do you have an assistant?
I don't have an assistant. Um, I am looking for an assistant. So if anyone is listening who is a whiz at Asana and also can help me stay on top of things, I would love that. You know what my problem is, Bastian? It's not that I love the admin work, but sometimes because I do all of the like big thinking and the vision stuff, and I'm doing strategy and solving problems all day, sometimes I just need to like click a box and move a file into a folder. You know what I mean? And sometimes I do it on like a Friday night when everyone's gone to bed and I can just watch a movie and just mindlessly like move stuff around and then check a box and feel really good that I accomplished something. So I'll break out of that one day, but I would love an assistant because yeah, it would mean that I just don't have to fill my brain with those types of things. But maybe I'll ask you more about that and what your experience has been like.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's definitely a mindset, a shift in mindset, because in order to delegate something, you have to understand exactly what you need to delegate. You
Yeah.
have to explain it clearly. You have to delegate only if it makes sense. But this feels so good to be able to delegate things and they come back and they're done and you can move on to the next thing. That's quite an amazing feeling, but
Yeah.
it's hard to get there.
Yeah. How do you spend your day then? Like if you're not in emails and if you're not doing admin tasks, what are you spending your time? I know you're doing stuff like this, right? The podcast, you're doing videos, maybe you're going for a run. Like what are you then doing with that saved time?
I think I have exactly the same day as you. I still do a lot of client sessions. I send invoices. I talk with clients. The only thing is, I don't do, when I need to send an invoice, I just ask someone to create an invoice for a package to deploy Asana to 20 people. And then
Yeah.
half an hour later, the PDF comes back and I send it. So I just
Okay.
saved that 10 minutes to create the right quote and everything. So I just delegate all of that small stuff, but I do have the rest. Creating content is a big part. Client session is also a big part, obviously.
Got it. Yeah, I like what you said. You have to fully understand what you need them to do. Because I used to have an assistant. When I was at Datto, I had an assistant probably 6 or 7 months. And it was great. But, she gave me some feedback one day. She's like, I don't feel like I actually help you. Like I'm doing stuff and I'm moving things around, but like there's so much more that I can do for you. And that was me struggling with just letting it all go. And so in that regard, I feel like I was my own worst enemy working against them. But 2024, gonna get an
Oh,
assistant, take after
and
you.
what about ChatGPT? Are you using ChatGPT daily?
I am. Oh man, I love it. I love it. And with the recent news with like Sam Altman like going to Microsoft or getting fired, going to Microsoft, and then coming back, 3 days later, I'm like, what is happening right now? I've been trying to get on GPT-4 Turbo, and I've been on the wait list. I can't get in. I want to take advantage of more of the capabilities of the tool. I use it every single day. Um, when I was building my website, I needed to do some custom styling, and I told it what I needed to do in Squarespace. It gave me the code. I input the code snippet, and it worked perfectly. I use it for strategy. I use it sometimes if I write an email that's too wordy, I need to make it more concise. I'm using it that way. I'm using it in sales and my proposals and strategy. And like I use it to develop my mission, my vision. Like I use it every single day, just like as an extension of my brain. And yeah, I'm so excited for what I will have access to when I get on, 4 Turbo, because I want to make my own GPTs. I think I have some use cases where I can make my own to like just make my work easier, my team's work easier, make me a better strategist, make me a better leader. So yeah, I'm all for it. How are you using it? Because I know you've got some cool things going on behind the scenes.
I use it to find emojis because we use emojis quite heavily. So sometimes I
Yeah,
go on ChatGPT and I say, what emoji would you use for the concept of consulting? And then it comes up with the list. And yeah,
that's
I use
amazing.
I use it to write emails.
Yeah.
Um, I use it to do some research,
Hmm.
um, just to replace Google, basically.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I think also to create fake data. So we have a demo space and we use
Ah,
ChatGPT to create fake data. And my partner is using it to write Excel macro. He had to
hmm,
clean up some CSV and it was a mess. And he actually used ChatGPT to guide him on how to write the macro.
right.
And I use it for code as well.
Cool.
How do you sort an array of strings and do blah, blah, blah? And it just gives you the code itself.
It's
Mind blowing.
perfect. I actually used it the other day to write an advanced formula for Asana because I'm not a syntax expert at all. Like the advanced formulas, I still can't wrap my head around like how to do it because I don't understand code. But I just gave it to ChatGPT what I wanted it to do. It gave me the string. I changed the variables based on the fields and the functions in Asana, and it worked. It's like this is it. I'm like, should I make a video on this? But I don't want anyone else to know. I'll just keep that secret for myself. But
Fair
yeah, I
enough.
love I love it.
Definitely. Did we cover everything? You want to talk about one last topic? Anything we missed?
Um Man, I could talk about anything. I'm blanking on everything right now. Yeah, I'm just excited for the future. I think I've learned a lot. I think where I'm heading, we're niching down in this next stage of the business as the rebrand is rolling out. And it's going to be more people centric. And anyone listening, if you're a leader, um, if you run a team, right, like consider the people that work for you, right? It's not all about profits and productivity. I think like there are real people that are experiencing real challenges, right? And when I do my talks, sometimes I get the audience to close their eyes and just think about the person that, in my case, is sitting on their couch on a random Tuesday or Wednesday night. They're dreading going into work the next day because their boss is breathing down their neck and they don't know what to do and they don't know where things are. And they're so stressed out that they would, instead of going to bed or being with their family, they would go on YouTube, search up how to do something in a sauna. And one of my videos or one of your videos would pop up. They would go down a rabbit hole, right? Learning all the things they can about a sauna. And it doesn't have to be YouTube. It could be registering for courses or going to conferences. Like, they're taking their time and they're doing all the things that they can do, coming in early, staying late, working on weekends, right? Just to like be better in their job, do better, to eliminate the stress and the burnout that's always lingering. And so think about those people. I think it's your responsibility as a leader to implement the systems, make the change that you need to make in your organization. Both the World Health Organization and the American Psychiatric Association have been quoted, and I'm going to paraphrase them and put them together, but they basically say that individual process change or systems change is helpful in reducing burnout and anxiety and depression, but it really takes an organizational systems change to see a difference. And so that comes from leadership. You are the decision makers. You are the ones that make the calls. You are the ones that say yes or no. And I think you owe it to your team to implement those system changes and think about how your lack of inefficiency and your lack of systems is really affecting that person at their core. So that's that. I'm going to leave it at that, because that's what I've just realized is the most important thing in all of this.
Thanks. Can you give again your website for everybody to go and check out?
Yeah, it will be cirface.com. So it's CIRFACE.com. That should be out by the end of November, maybe mid-December. We're almost there, but yeah, I'd love for you to check it out.
Perfect. Thank you. See you around.
Thank you.